So our next session is a pivot away in a very different direction. And we are going to ask Abdulla bin Touq, who is the Secretary General of the UAE Cabinet, to come up and speak about the very interesting experiment that is being done with the Government Regulations Lab, or Reg Lab. Your Excellency.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you for coming this morning. I'm going to try to be as fun as I can to the previous presentation, because my tier is much better than mine. So I was talking in the morning, I say, how can I beat now something about government, but different than actually a video game? But I'll try, and you judge me at the end. So I'll start to talk about what governments does, and what we're going to do in the next couple of stages. First of all, what are governments and why governments exist? Government exists in history, and if you go back, is to put law and order, is to put legislations, is to allow how things operate and how things works. So the people, the civil society, looks at government as a protection, to protect them from businesses, economy, roads, flying, and so forth. But in the world, in the stage world that we're living at the moment, government has to evolve. The technology that we're going through is totally different. The civil society is forming something different. And we need to pose a question. The question is, how might we get government to change? But I might disagree with this. This is not the question we're trying to pose. We're posing this. How might we design government for change? And stop at the word design. And that's the most important part to think about. As the Secretary General of the Cabinet, I'm coming down here to speak to the technological community, to say, government doesn't know how to regulate technology, doesn't know how to regulate emerging technology, per se. Getting in the morning, driving, coming all over to come and meet you guys here, personally, I think I passed more than 1,000 regulations on the way here. Regulations of motorists, cyclists, plane, hospitals, education. If I just count the amount of regulations that's out there, written, and just driving, for my 25 minutes of driving, there's more than 1,000 regulations without us knowing about it. Imagine a world with no regulations. How will people drive? This poses a question, a proactive question of government. Well, what's the regulations of the future, of future technology, and how that will operate? When cars were introduced in history, there was a regulation called the Red Flag Act. We might laugh about it today, right? This guy walks in front of a car holding a red flag to warn horse carriages of a car coming through. Our children's children will laugh at current regulations 100 years from now. They don't know what a cassette today is. What about cars in the future? Or cycling in the future? And so forth. Such technology might not exist in the future when the Red Flag Act was in existence, when the first car were actually in driving. All right. So how do we do about it? So we understand what regulation is, we understand what government exists and why does it exist, and regulation comes and goes. But when do we regulate? Timing is the essence. So innovators comes with a product and with speed. They have venture capitalists investing in them. They have money they need to deliver. They have stakeholders they need to actually put this product into the market. So the innovators come with speed. Technological company come with speed. Government comes with speed, but will come with protectionism in mind. If you regulate too quick, you might stifle the sector. You might stifle the technology. And if you regulate too late, you might end up causing civil society being harmed and so forth. But just right. Have you read the Goldilocks story? The porridge needs to be not too hot, not too cold, but just right. How to make the porridge just right. Reading the books of innovation, there's the 10 ways of innovation, and talks about profit model, network, structure under the configuration, processes, how do we innovate in these areas? They talk about product performances, product systems and offering, and how to innovate on that. They talk about services, channel, brand, and customer engagement in the experience of innovation. But I want to add the 11th model. How do we regulation innovation? How can we have innovation in the regulation aspect? Government, in the end of the day, doesn't know the unknown. Technology comes very fast. How do we bring the innovation at the right speed? And we make sure that every one of us in this room help the government to innovate in a way. This is what Reg Labs comes in. And this is why Reg Lab is important. It's a laboratory of regulation to innovate in it. It's inviting the stakeholders, the communities to come and participate of the regulation of the future. So if we put Reg Lab in a formula perspective, what is it? It's hardware plus software plus peopleware. So it's not just a regulation by itself, but it comes with a bundle. And it's important to look at, first, the hardware. Someone has a technology, he wants to implement it in a space. It could be a virtual space, it could be a physical space. This technology of my tier, for instance, previously, want to be implemented on a virtual space, on an iPad, on a tablet. But it will help emotional and mental issues. How can we help you in doing that? So the hardware is important. Testing and testability is the word that we're looking at. Is it tested? Is this product tested? And can we implement it? Nowadays, innovators and product designers test it under their own laboratories, under their own configuration. What we're saying is test it and test regulations with it. So we don't come too fast and we don't come too slow. We come to just right. On the software aspect in the Reg Lab, it's important to mention there's two facts. First one is testing licenses. So what we did is, in the Reg Lab, we offered technology firms a testing license from the cabinet. There is a law that gave the cabinet a decree that gave it power to give testing an experimental license for technology of the future. So when we come and test the technology, you have the official license to actually test it on the ground here in the UAE. But testing these licensing and putting it, we need market incubators programs as well. The other day, I don't know if you were here in the Reg Lab fireside chats, I was talking about a scooter. Scooter is not prohibited in Dubai, for instance. You can't drive a scooter because regulators are here and says, have you met regulators? Very lovely people. But a scooter, for instance, the regulator comes in and say, I want the scooter to drive a scooter with a helmet on. What happens if somebody fell off? Technology companies say, hey, the scooter is being implemented, it's the ease of moving a person from point A to point B, but at the end of the day, how can we come together, regulator and the innovator together, to create something where civil society can live and flourish from it? But when it comes to market incubator, there's another paradigm to it. The other paradigm to market incubator is who will maintain the scooter? So if there is someone who is good in mechanics, can be on a platform, can help to maintain the scooter, is something that we need to incubate as well in the regulation. So someone might have his own tool shed. They say, hey, I can go out and actually fix a scooter. I'll get paid for it. It's not just moving A to B. Maybe there's someone who's actually have some parts for the scooters that will help. So these are the market incubation regulation that comes in and helps. So the Reg Lab doesn't look at the technological aspect alone, but as well, it looks at the aspect of how can we bring these incubations and the market with it as well to create it. I hope this is fun. Peopleware. So there is two things in peopleware which is important. One is the GovPass. The ideology of a GovPass is today, and I don't know if you looked at the Golden Visa the UAE has launched. The Golden Visa is just the mechanics of what the UAE envisions. But if you look at it very carefully, it's all about talent mobility. I can have the right regulations, I can have the right product, but I need to have the right talent who comes in, who's willing to pose for the question, who's willing to design with us and co-create. So the talent mobility is the most important thing that we do as well, and create this kind of alumni in the Reg Lab that helps people to come together. On the aspect of global community, what happens if a Reg Lab meet an X Lab? Walking through the boulevard in the Area 2071, the work with the Dubai Future Foundation, and Khalfan Bilhol is here. I have to pick on you always. You have passed by through Aviation X Lab, IBM Lab, P&G, Pfizer, Ernst & Young. Those are X Labs and many more. But what happens when you put an R Lab with them? What's going to happen? That's where all these talent comes in and say, here's a question we want to pose, and here's a regulation we want to tackle. And so, we gave the first license to the first project, working with Dubai Future Foundation and Dubai 10X, to a project called Rahal. It's a system, it's a model about education. Our education system is 100 years plus of age. All of us in this room believe hardly the education system needs to change. Today, what happens if we have three things to this, and we change it from a business model, a tech model, and a societal model? And a business model, what if the kids doesn't go to school and they get educated at home through home learning? From a tech model, what if we have AI, artificial intelligence, and augmented reality to it? As a societal model, the buildings that today it was an education school from 8 to 3 could be used for something else after schools. Innovation doesn't have a limit, and design doesn't have a limit, and the Reg Lab doesn't have a limit. So we announced in 2020, in coordination with Dubai Future Foundation as well, what the Reg Lab is going to focus on. We're going to focus on four major things next year: mobility, health, 3D printing, and AI. And every year, we're going to have these programs. They're going to focus on spectrums and areas that we want actually to work on these regulations and help to change. So if we took Might here, it always goes back to the video game. I loved it. I'm going to download it. I'm going to put in health, and let's work on that. Let's bring it in. Let's sign it. But everything has an operation model. And let me give you a little bit of insight of what's the operation model that's in the Reg Lab. It starts on three things: it's search, start, and scale. In the cabinet, in the Reg Lab itself, we search. We look for the problems. We want to go and attract these problems. We take the problems heads on, and we search for them through different programs. And we bring them in. Working with Dubai Future Foundation, we create this context, applying through the Dubai Future Foundation through the programs of Area 2071, through the programs of 10X, through the programs of Dubai Future Accelerators, through here as well. And we work together. We have the regulators. We control the regulators overall. We can actually invite them to sit on a table and come and discuss. And then we can come together to scale, creating the right change. How might government design for change? And when the regulation is ready, it goes up. But there is one more important thing. We can't do it alone. We need to create and co-create. So let's meet, let's talk, let's challenge, let's question, let's design, let's collaborate, let's co-create and build this together. Send us an email and co-create at reglab.gov.ae, and we're willing, in the next 5 minutes though. But let's work together, and we're excited to be here. Thank you very much.